I cannot be amongst these people anymore. And my mental health continued to decline. And in January of 2024, I remember laying in bed thinking, I would rather be dead than to keep going as a lawyer.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Make It Count. I'm your host, Michelle Latocha, and today I'm honored to share the space with once a successful lawyer and now a passionate advocate for disability and inclusion. Welcome, Lindsey Mazza. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure. I always like to start the show by kind of like, how did I get to know this guest? And this might sound creepy, but like I was following you on Instagram. And I feel like nowadays that's what we do. Like, right? We want to learn more about someone. A mutual friend had shared your information about what you're doing. And the person that I am, I feel like I should have been an investigator because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so inspiring. Like, you know, like you read a book and you open it up and then you can't put it down.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about you.
Oh, that's so nice.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm all about empowerment.
Yeah.
I feel like that's in my bones. And I was just like, I want to know you and your story and I want to share it.
Thank you.
So tell us like how did this come to be? Like I have questions, but like I feel like we could just talk for hours upon hours.
Yeah.
How did you land in advocacy from being a successful lawyer?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been an advocate my whole life because I had to be. From the time I was a small kid, I was always having to ask for things that I needed and be my own advocate. And as much as my parents would try and put the safety measures in place and accommodations, I was always met with barriers, whether it was in school or within the community. So I really had to learn how to speak for myself from a really young age. And then I chose law because I thought, I've always been an advocate. It'll just be a natural progression. It'll also be an accessible profession. So it'll be something that will be easy for me. That's what I thought anyways. But the legal profession is actually not accessible. It's not inclusive. It's very privileged. I was denied the accommodations to even write my law school entrance exams.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to appeal that process in order to apply. And then I went to law school and the accommodations there were lacking. And then I went on to practice in a profession that's full of barriers. The courthouses are not fully accessible. It's very, very privileged and resistant to change. So, you know, I worked really hard and I just accepted that I would have to work harder than everybody else. And I did all of this while not talking about my disability. It was just a non-topic. Even amongst my closest friends, they knew I projected this energy of, we're not talking about it. We're going to pretend that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And all of that shifted when I lost my dad in October of 2023.
Wow. And your dad, he was in law.
Yes.
He was a Supreme Court judge.
Superior Court.
Superior Court.
Yeah.
How did that influence your movement into law?
Yeah. So my dad also had the same physical disability. And he was a lawyer and then a judge, a family court judge. And I'm not sure that his career in law influenced me that much. It's funny because people always ask that question, but he was very... my dad was always very clear with my brother and I, both my parents were, do what you love, the money will follow.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So, and there's a book written, I can't remember who the author is, but he was very much about giving us space. So there wasn't any pressure to go into law. But like I said, I went into it because I thought I'll be able to use my natural gifts. So I had him as a mentor in so many ways. And obviously when I went into law and then I did family law, you know, our lives were so paralleled. So for sure it was an influence. And also I relied on him not only for career advice, but just his advice on how to move through the world with a disability. So when I lost him, you know, I describe it as losing my teammate.
Oh my gosh, that's soul crushing, right? Like someone who understood everything that you're going through.
Yeah.
You said you're in family law. Like, do you feel like dealing with the complex cases with family law helped your understanding of inclusion and resiliency?
Yeah. So it's funny because resilience is a word that we use often. And I don't know how I feel about the word resilient because people with disabilities have no option but to be resilient.
Yeah.
So I think we say it as a compliment, but anybody who's had any adversity, like, what's your other option, right? I always say, like, you just got to keep going. But for sure, my ability, because I moved through the world with differences, my intuitive skills were always very strong because I was always hyper vigilant. My ability to read people is very strong. So that for sure helped me in family law, dealing with high conflict, high emotions, and understanding that component of it when emotions are running high. It absolutely helped me.
Wow. We spoke about on the phone before our interview, and I've said this so many times, and we briefly cited that, like, when you put it to the universe, like an energy or a frequency, I feel like it comes back like a boomerang.
Yeah.
And, even just me noticing your Instagram profile, your story, I feel like it was always meant to be. And, as we dig deeper and learn about ourselves, you're a Reiki practitioner.
Yeah, I have my Reiki master's. So I've always been, like I said, I always have been intuitive. I've always tapped into the universal energy. I've always leaned on an unseen guidance. And I think I really dove into it because it was like a lifeline for me. Law, like I said, I've got my brand hiding in plain sight, which is truly what I was doing. And you can only do that for so long. And my body, my mind, everything was failing on me because I was not showing up as myself. And when my dad passed, it was really rock bottom for me. I was not well. But I also started to hear him. So my intuitive gifts became so much stronger. And I talk about my rock bottom moment. So I lost him in October of 2023. And what's wild is, like, because we were part of the same legal community, all of the lawyers that I had on files, judges, they all showed up at his funeral. They were intimately aware of the loss. And 2 weeks later, I was back at the office and they were all being jerks to me on files, like calling me out for my delay, knowing that I was off on bereavement. And I thought, what am I doing here? I cannot be amongst these people anymore. And my mental health continued to decline. And in January of 2024, I remember laying in bed thinking, I would rather be dead than to keep going as a lawyer.
So devastating.
And that's when I really, really leaned in and I said, Dad, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I need you to show me the way. Universe, spirit guides, angels, whoever's out there, like, I surrender. I can't keep going this way. And that's when it became really clear to me that my only way forward was to stop rejecting myself. And if I was actually wanting to step into true and authenticity, I had to use my life's experience to help others and start operating from a place of service.
That is just so profound, right? In your weakest and rock bottom moment, you had the most clarity.
And I think that's the case for most people, but I think that we get in our own way and we don't allow ourselves to be quiet enough to hear the guidance that we're getting, right? Your body's screaming at you.
100%.
Yeah, right?
As soon as you turn 40, it's screaming louder.
Louder. And I remember, and the thing about me is I'm not afraid to say the things that make people uncomfortable.
Love that.
Right? So I would talk to my colleagues like, guys, I'm waking up in the morning feeling like this. And I remember being shocked when they looked back at me and said, yeah, that's normal. That's how we feel. And I was like, I'm sorry. I am not accepting this as the rest of my life. Something needs to change.
It's sad because I've heard that before. It's like we, and I don't want to get judgment for this, but it's just how I feel too. It's like, okay, you grow up. I grew up in an immigrant family. You get your education and then you get a job. That's a good paying job. You get a pension. It's like, you got to check all the boxes. But then I felt also as a kid, like, what if I don't want to be in that box, right? Like, I don't think that that's what we should be aspiring to. If it makes you happy, I'm always like, great. But what if it doesn't make you happy? Is that hamster wheel really your life? It's all these things, even like with kids, right? In high school, and my one son's in high school, and there's always like, hey, what are you going to do? But I refrain from saying that all the time now. It's like, I don't want to ask him, what is he going to do?
Yeah.
And just like you said, your parents, like, be happy. I was fortunate that my parents supported me because, I went to school to become a teacher, and then I was like,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Yeah.
I love you, teachers, but I don't think that because I want to do all the things and I don't want to be in a box. You said something off camera that kind of like it sparked a little bit of interest, that as children, we're told and we tell them to not follow their intuition.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So as a kid, I was unsafe a lot. So I tell the story that the first time I really clocked that I was unsafe in my own body was I was 6 years old. That's my earliest memory. And every year, my parents always made accommodations for me at school, and I had been at the same school for ECE in kindergarten, and I was a few weeks into grade 1, and one of the accommodations was that I would always have a buddy system. So when I went to the washroom, my friend would come with me in case I needed help. And I asked my teacher one day to go to the washroom, and she said I could go, but she told me I couldn't bring my friend. And I remember saying to her, but miss, my mom and dad told me that I could always bring my friend, and I was pleading with her, and she said no to me and didn't allow the person to come with me. And I went by myself. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor that day, and I figured it out. But it was in that moment that I realized, looking back, that I had a lot of profound understanding at the age of 6 that we are told adults are supposed to be safe, and they were not for me.
Wow.
And that I was going to be alone and had to figure things out often by myself, but also to lean on my instincts about the people that I was with. So I, at an early age, which served me through life, because most people have a fear of people who are in a position of authority. I couldn't give a shit who you are.
I love it.
Like, from my perspective, respect is earned.
Yeah.
So I always had to challenge, and I relied on my instincts to do that. When I look back at my classmates, nobody wanted to go against the grain. And that's what we bake into kids from a young age. And then
so true.
Right. And then we grow up into these adults who are like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And then we have to relearn all of those instincts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. I know I have 3 children, and same thing. I always, I think I was that kid too. I always questioned everything. And sometimes my parents would be like, Michelle, just do it. And and you saying that, it just affirms that I think there's certain people that are put on this earth to question everything.
Yeah.
And we need that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how change is created and made.
Yes.
And I think, you put it in your position. I think you're a change maker. And I really do, just listening to your story, I think that as soon as you accepted that path that was brought on for you, so many things are happening for you.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a second. But I like to play games.
Sure.
I like to break the ice and play games. Okay, so I keep telling everyone, invite me to any game party, okay? It's got to be home by 9, though, because I'll fall asleep. Okay, so I'm going to give you 30 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
And I just love to see how people think on the fly.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you these questions.
Okay.
And answer as many as you can.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So, first one. Name 3 brands of jeans.
Oh, my gosh. Calvin Klein. Oh my God, I can't.
Next.
Gap. Okay.
Name 3 things you don't want to find in a hotel room.
Oh my God, bed bugs.
Oh
Like stained anything.
my gosh, no.
And dirty drinking glasses.
Name 3 comedy movies.
Comedy movies. Bridesmaids.
I'm doing it again. Bridesmaids.
You're doing it again.
Yeah, I'm doing it again.
Oh, okay.
Name 3 athletic brands.
Lululemon, Nike, Aloe.
Okay. That was a good one. Name 3 animals you can find at a zoo.
Tigers, monkeys, and elephants.
Okay. Name 3 brands of toothpaste.
Colgate, Crest, and Arm & Hammer.
Arm & Hammer.
How
old are you?
I know.
Okay. On the jeans question, I was like thinking I had like Parasuco. I'm like aging myself.
No, Parasuco, literally.
Remember?
I remember. It's so funny because whenever I would get Christmas money and stuff and I'd want to go shopping, my dad was always like, you know, I buy the basics, the winter coat, all of that stuff. But if you want Parasuco jeans, that's on you. And I remember him referencing Parasuco.
I know. I'm like, that is how old we are, okay? The low button fly.
Oh
Mariah
my
Carey's
God,
movie,
so
like her video
unattractive.
came out. It was like cut off all the corners now. And I'm like, okay, that's me.
Yeah.
Okay. So you spent decades navigating courtrooms, but did they really, like in the courtroom, do you feel like being in that position shaped the challenges you have now for advocacy?
Yeah, I think I got fed up, right? So the thing is like I complained in all of the formal avenues. So I was on the committee for the courthouse. Like I had them, like I was on the bench and bar committee where they did an assessment of the courthouse. They never got back to me. I kept following up. Like nobody actually cares. So now I'm in a position to say, you know, like, and I said this recently, I can't even remember who I was talking to, but I'm happy to keep humiliating the legal profession until they change. Because there's something there. It's the stat is something like 3% of lawyers identify with a disability. And there's no way that that's accurate because you're not going to get hired. Nobody wants to accommodate you. The courthouses are not accessible and they're so antiquated. Even when COVID hit, that immediately made it more accessible for people because we were attending via Zoom. And then there was this big push from senior judges to go back into the courtrooms with zero thought as to how much easier it made life for everyone. Even people without disabilities, like moms who had kids, like that glass ceiling absolutely exists in law. There's no maternity plan. There's none of that stuff. So yeah, it absolutely shaped where I am now because like I said, I've never been afraid to call it as it is. And unless we keep doing it, it's not going to change. And I mean, I've reached out to the Canadian Bar Association, the Law Society, the Judicial Council to say, hey, hire me to speak at your events. Nobody gets back to me.
Wow.
So I'll keep talking about it on the social and CTV News and all of the public forums until somebody pays attention because it is
Be loud.
Be loud. And people are suffering. Mental health is not good in the legal profession. There's a reason people don't like lawyers. We don't even like ourselves.
Yeah.
Like it's such a toxic profession. So it breeds mental health issues and people are truly hiding in plain sight.
Wow. And talking about hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
You turned to a talk show host. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah. So I woke up, it was October of last year. So I had formally left law end of September. And I woke up, I had dreamed about, it came to me in a dream, hiding in plain sight. And I thought, what is this supposed to be? So I turned it into a podcast. And then as the last few months evolved, it really became clear to me that it had to be more of a brand. And my vision for it is that it's going to be this umbrella group that can help people find their own voices. I want to have a charitable component and I want to have a component where kids can be involved because it's all of the healing we have to do as adults happens because of everything we've experienced as kids.
Yes.
And in this era of social media, I think it's really important to have a safe space for kids who can authentically show up as them.
Wow. That's amazing. I just love that.
Yeah.
So how, like, are you looking for guests or how does that work? Like, do you guests reach out or?
For the show, for the TV segment? Yeah. So, for sure, people can get in touch. You know, I'm unsure what I'm going to do with my podcast, but I definitely want people to get in touch. I also have this collaboration book that I'm working on with my publisher in California, so people can sign up to be authors. It's a coaching program, so they'll author a chapter within the Hiding in Plain Sight book.
Love it.
And also, I'm going to host a conference that allows the all of the authors to develop, I'm going to coach them on it, but they'll develop their keynote talk, and then they'll deliver it on stage, and they'll get their speaking assets as well, so that we
That's
can really
amazing.
amplify people's
so
voices.
Like you're empowering
yes,
as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And I saw that you were on the social. Like,
Yeah.
Hello, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So, as much as I went on this journey and started in the fall of last year, it still has been a struggle for me to continue to show up. And I still dip into those old patterns. And I think it's really important for people to understand that when you're looking from the outside in and you're seeing people doing all these great things, it can look like it's easy, but it's not. And I keep going because I keep showing up for myself. And that's the difference between me and somebody else who's not doing it is I'm not self-abandoning anymore. And when you stop self-abandoning, you're able to keep moving forward. And my first TV interview was at the beginning of March. And even though this is everything that I wanted, I was overwhelmed with this desire to go back into hiding. And my first interview was at Your TV Niagara. And I, that voice in my head was loud, and I just said, enough. I'm going to keep taking these steps forward. So I did my first TV interview. I said to the universe, fine, I'm ready to be seen. And from there, my life's exploded since March. So I was interviewed by Kate at Your TV Niagara, and her and I connected. Then from there, I got my TED Talk, I did Speaker Slam, and then I've done all of these TV interviews. Wow. And it's just one opportunity after the next because I finally said yes.
Oh my goodness. I just had this vision of, that Pixar movie, is it Monsters, Inc.?
Yeah.
Where the little girl opens the door and she keeps going through the doors and every door is a new room. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's it. It's like you allowed yourself to open up the door, take away fear. Mm-hmm. And now you're in a different room with different people.
And that's the other thing people need to understand is this process comes with a lot of loss and grief because I shed a ton of people in my life. Yeah. Because what starts happening is when you decide to level up and you decide to vibe higher, there's going to be a lot of people in your life who are more comfortable with you being in a low vibration.
Oh, Lindsey, preach that.
Right. Okay. So those people like to see you not doing so well. They like to show up for you when you're low. But when you start riding high, it shines a giant light on how all of their shortcomings, and they need to go. So people either level up with you or they level out.
And that in itself is grief.
It's grief, and it's
shedding an identity. It's everything.
100%, but it's transformative because those people, I did an interview. His name's Jaz Razul, and if people don't know who he is, you should check him out. He's based out of England, and he's a quantum physicist. So he talks about like energetics from a scientific perspective and manifesting. And he says, like energy is so important, as we know, but in order for you to be the most aerodynamic version of yourself, you have to shed the people that are holding you back, right? Because they slow you down.
Yeah, cut the cord.
Right? So and it's funny because I think we assume that there has to be this big fallout, but a lot of the people just like disappeared from my life.
They dissolve.
Yeah, just gone. It's like they stop being able to recognize you. Yeah. So you just let them fade into the background, and then every single person that you need who matches your vibration literally or higher falls out of the sky, and then it's expansive and it's reciprocal.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yeah.
And I totally believe it.
Yeah, totally.
I went through the same process.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I think as you grow old and like as your teenage life and university, you're always like, oh, I need all these friends. And then as you get older, you feel like maybe you don't. You know what I mean? The circle's smaller, but it's more richer.
It is richer. And I think it's shifting the perspective from, I need these people in my life, or like this pick me energy of like, please pick me, to 100%. It is a privilege for you to be in my energy.
Oh yeah.
Right. So now I'm going to be very decisive and very discerning, and unless it's mutual and reciprocal and we're both helping each other expand, I don't have time for it and I'm not putting my energy into it.
Okay. I think I need to start hanging around you.
Yes.
Love this. Oh my gosh.
Well, you dropped into my life on this timeline, so.
I know. I love it. I know. And I love when I can speak to someone about like the universe and timelines and off camera. We're like, oh, it's 11/11. It's going to be great. And, and that's the thing. It's just like, I'm totally a believer of energy and energetics. And
100%.
We're all just vibrating at a different frequency.
Yeah.
And in trying to teach that to everyone I see and my kids, especially. If kids can learn that early on.
Totally.
Oh, it's a game changer.
It's a game changer. And also moving out of any sort of victim mentality, right? So because we fear rejection, we fear abandonment, we're devastated when the thing that we think we want doesn't pan out. And we hear this all the time, that the universe has something better planned for you than you could have imagined. And it is so true.
But sometimes we don't believe it. We're not there yet.
Right, because we haven't actually surrendered.
Yeah.
But when you actually surrender, and sometimes and often it takes a rock bottom moment where you are so exhausted, so depleted that you have no energy left to keep your defenses up. That's when you can really lean into the surrender. And then it all comes in. And you just have to be like, all right, universe, just show me what I need to do.
Exactly. Yeah. I've always said that, you are the author of your own story.
Totally.
Every chapter can be, hey, this was the path I'm taking today.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like your thesis and you have to prove it. It's like, this is what I want to be. I'm not a believer of boxes. I just think that you just wake up and be present.
Yeah. And I think that it's also about understanding that there isn't just one timeline we can all live in, right? Like our free will determines that. And when you are living in alignment, nothing is work.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in the driver's seat all the time. You don't have to be always acquiring. Life just becomes easier
it happens
because you're
for
living
you.
in the flow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this was amazing, Lindsey.
Yeah,
I love speaking to you.
Thank you.
Tell our viewers what's next for you.
Yeah, so I'm doing consulting for accessibility, inclusion issues, spokesperson, speaking opportunities. And the message that I really like to hammer home is that there's all of this talk about DEI initiatives. And most companies are only focusing on the D of the acronym, diversity. So we're not creating inclusive environments. And most of that is because people with accessibility needs, disabilities, are not actually at the table making decisions. And that is continuing to be accepted at the corporate level. And from my perspective, that is as offensive and non-productive as having a bunch of white people sit around a table talking about racial issues.
Oh, wow.
So if you're looking to actually shift things, you need to include people with lived experience at the table. And I don't meet a lot of people like me. So they need to get in touch, because at the end of the day, having a disability or requiring accessibility is a bucket that every single human being will fall into at some point in their life if they are lucky enough to get older.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I want to end on that.
Yeah.
Before I say my quote, we're going to post all of Lindsey's links and how to reach out and connect with her. If anything, I think a conversation about what she's doing, because she's like creating a path for change, and she's just a great frequency to be around.
Thank you.
And I want to end on this quote. Maybe it won't work out, but maybe seeing if it does will be the best adventure ever. So thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.